My experience with motorcycles started off real young. I mean, young as I can remember. My dad and my uncle always had bikes. For a long time, my dad tried to get me one, and my mom just kept saying no, no. And I remember, I guess it was shortly after my 6th birthday, like he kept telling me, you got one more thing coming. He worked a bunch of overtime, and he showed up at home with a little PW80, and he got it off Craigslist, so there ain't no returning it. So at that point, my mom was like, well, hell, I guess he can have it. He unloaded it out the truck, started it, I rode it right into the side of the house. All I ever knew was wide open from the start. I'm from a little town called White House, Tennessee. It's a little bitty town. I remember when we first moved there, it was gravel roads, most of it. It was close enough to town my parents could work, but far enough out that we could grow up a little slower. Besides sports and, playing in the mud, there really ain't a whole lot to do there. You're either on a truck or a dirt bike, or, you playing sports at school, or you trying to get you a college education and get out of there, Because there was nothing to do there, it just made me focus on the things I loved, and whatever my little passions or hobbies were, I was just all in them. I've always had a competitive nature. Growing up, when it was baseball or football, I wanted to be the captain. I wanted to be the one yelling the loudest, getting everybody jacked, encouraging everybody. I feel like once I started racing, it took me a while to get fast. I was a little timid at first, but once I got the hang of riding, it was like first place or nothing. I started working for a motocross magazine, and that was paying my way around the country to race. And I went professional at the same time, so I was kind of able to self-promote in the magazine because I was writing all the stories. I did it for so long that was my dream. I mean, I felt like at 22, I felt like I was living the dream already. Sometimes I was like, what do you do after this? Where do you go from here? I was racing in the Georgia Dome. It was my biggest race I'd ever done up to that point. And I think I did about 4 laps and tried this big jump the first time and ended up going over the handlebars. I broke my arm, knocked myself out, and that was pretty tough to be in a spot of like, you can't do it anymore and you're gonna have to sell the stuff just to survive. I mean, at first I was kind of lost. I was scared to death because motocross was my whole life up to that point. I mean, my friends group was in it, my career, my hobby. I mean, it was really all I knew. So to take a risk on something I knew nothing about, at least the business side of music, I knew not a thing. I want to say we started having guitars around the house at like 10 years old. And then until I was about 16, there was always one. I remember waking up Christmas morning and there was this huge box and I had no clue what it would be, and shredded it open and it was an amp. And I'm like, and I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, I got a speaker. What is this for? And then the next box was a guitar. And I was hooked. I started writing just to like keep myself alive, more or less. I went through some hard stuff. I went through a failed engagement, and I don't know, I kind of fell in love with it. I'd always written magazine stuff or whatever. I'd never written just for me. So telling my story was cool. I spent so long telling other people's accomplishments and family history, and I was just kind of ready to tell mine. And honestly, it's the only way I can write these songs. Had I not got to live that firsthand and come up with my own slang terms with my buddies and stuff, I don't think I'd be comfortable writing this kind of music. Our relationship started such a crazy way. One of my buddies from high school was washing his dirt bike at the car wash. T-Hub's rolling through town. He just bought a property there, and he pulls up and gives him his address and says, come ride tomorrow and bring some friends. So my buddy calls and he's like, yo, this crazy dude just pulled up and said he's got a track 5 minutes from your house. And I didn't believe it because it's such a small town. Like, surely we would have known somebody had bulldozers in here building a big track, but we didn't. So I remember showing up the first day and everybody was already riding, and I didn't have a clue who he was, where we were. I'm just getting ready as quick as I can to get on the track. We ride for about an hour. We kind of, hey man, I'm Blake, I'm Tyler, whatever. Keep riding. Wasn't until we got back to his house, he started playing some stuff that was gonna be on their next record that I realized, like, okay, I thought he did construction or something. He had all these big machines out there and shit. I figured he must do construction or something to look like that. Early on when I started writing and sending these songs to Tyler, he was rooting for me. It really wasn't until Brian Kelly started hearing some of these songs and was like, yo, T, I think he's got something. And I think then Tyler probably felt a little cooler to go for it, but BK was always such a champion. I mean, he always believed in it. Music was a therapy for me. I mean, I'm not scared to say that it kept me alive, just listening, not even writing. Now to have a platform, I just want to give people stuff that they can live to, laugh to, cry to. It's just important to me to make sure, more than telling my story or letting people know me, I think that's what my goal was at first, I thought. I really just want to try to help people, give them something for every vibe.